Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Happy Wednesday. It's the last day of July already.
Wow.
Somehow the summer is flying by, and that's awesome because that means we are closer to hockey. Thanks for being here with us. We appreciate you as always. Lots of people in the chat. Lots of like buttons already smashed. I love that.
Nice.
Here we are, 2.5 years into this thing, and people are starting to get it. But if you haven't yet, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. Podcast listeners, like, subscribe, rate, review, follow, all that good jazz. Do that for us.
Jazz. That's a good day for jazz.
It is a good day for jazz. Why is it a good day for jazz, Laws? You have a plate full of food while we look longingly.
Yeah, and it smells good, doesn't it? It's Mardi Gras in July, gentlemen.
Woo!
Yay.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. That's for later in the show when I show my breasticles.
Thanks to our wonderful friends at Cajun Nation.
Yeah.
Family Farms.
You gotta take pictures of their mascots.
They're totally not
My daughter would
scary
be.
mascots.
My daughter would be.
I love it. The
She'd be
mascot's
running
insane.
in terror right now.
The mascot's insane.
So it's a can of Cajun seasoning. I get that. Who's the
can.
other guy?
He's the raging
It looks like
Cajun.
Rocky Rococo.
It
think
is.
It is
Is
Rocky
that what it
Rococo.
is? Okay,
Yes.
I knew it.
didn't get to Rocky Rococo. That was the third one.
My Italian fast food pizza genetic makeup finally pays off.
So if you want to know what the hell we're talking about, split screen with the White Sox.
Yes, go check out the White Sox
watch
live
along.
stream.
Yeah.
and
Feel
see
free.
what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're not having hallucinations.
Yeah.
This is
We do
really
not
going
have-
on.
We do not have
30
mushrooms
seconds.
before the show.
Yeah, we
Thank
haven't.
God those giant mascots cannot fit in our tiny studio.
Yeah, as you can't see off screen, we have the yard long Mardi Gras drinks.
Yes.
Yeah, we're having
That's
fun.
us. That's us drinking the Mardi Gras.
That's some hurricanes a brewing.
Yeah.
Well, we've got some
And diabetes.
the old puckaroo to get to. All this Mardi Gras madness aside,
Oh
and
boy.
there's a
It's all good. I'm just
farmer's dog saying hi. Oh, he's a cutie. Here's what we're gonna do today. We got 4 mailbag questions left. We're gonna give you the first 3, and then the fourth one
real quick, Jay. Look
got
up,
us
look at-
thinking.
there's-
Oh, there he is.
The
Yeah.
simulcast of the live stream.
Tell them to
Yeah.
actually get
There
on
they
the
are.
camera.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, we
I
don't
know.
director.
Of course,
Greg
put
Bragg's
limping
yeah.
around.
Come on, Bragg.
shredded knees.
Well,
Figure it out.
we'll go back to it if we see this insane mascot.
Notice
Maybe-
how Braggs is here on Free Food Day. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks, but he's here on Free
The only
Food
thing more
Day.
important than Bears Camp
Yeah.
is Free Food Day.
Free food day.
Oh, there's the.
All right.
All right, so we're gonna do the 3 mailbag questions that remain, and then the
Oh,
fourth
there
one.
they are. They're on screen.
There we go.
There it is.
It looks like that
Not
looks like
insane at all.
That looks like the Don that a young Robert De Niro kills in Godfather 2.
Yeah.
Spoilers, come on, dude. Jeez, I was
All
gonna
right,
watch
let's
that
talk about
tonight.
Let's talk about it.
I cannot wait for CHGO out of context to just screen grab that and
Amazing.
There we go.
Ride.
Amazing.
There is a cavalcade of characters here today. Some in costume, some not. But anyway, food's here, so we're happy. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh, yeah, hockey.
Hockey.
3
What is
mailbag
that?
questions, and then the 4th mailbag question tickled our fancy. We are going to give our predictions, and they're going to be way wrong, so don't get mad at us,
Maybe yours. but
on
mine
the
are perfect.
2026-27 Blackhawks roster.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm going 23 for 23 on these.
Well, you know what we should do?
Book it.
This is an old thing that my old boss Mitch used to do at the score is our preseason predictions, put them in an envelope, and then at the end of the year,
Burn
the
it.
last day of the season, you open the envelope to see how you
okay.
did.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe we do this and remind ourselves on opening day of 2026-27
Yes.
to open those envelopes. So,
Absolutely. I will
let's
not
get to-
lose that envelope in the next 2.5
Definitely
years.
not.
Good thing YouTube's forever.
That's right.
I mean, I'll be honest. We still have the Marion Hossa clone in the water bottle.
Yeah, we're
that
working
does
on
still
it.
The
exist.
back to tank, the latest Hossa clone. The tail is there. It's smaller than last time, but it's
Someone
we're
forgot to
getting
clean
there.
the
We're
tank
tweaking.
over the weekend. It's a little green, green in there.
Yeah.
Cajun season.
Got to get those. Got to get those sucker fish on there to keep
There
it
you
clean.
go. Yeah.
Placostomus
Thank you.
from Scott's Pet Shop in Westchester.
That is in Westchester.
All
That is
right,
correct.
let's start the mailbag on this Wednesday with a wonderful question from 31-2-14 Hockey. Who will be the better player, Oliver Moore or Frank Nazar? Nazar. What are we going with?
We're going Nazar.
I'm saying Nazar.
Until I'm corrected otherwise.
Nazar sounds cooler.
Until we ask him at camp, and then he'll correct us.
Say it's actually Nazar.
Yeah, Nazar. I'm gonna entertain the question first, and say I think Frank Nazar is more skilled in his hands, but I think Oliver Moore is the better skater. And it's splitting hairs. What's gonna get a guy further? I think it's skills on the puck. I'll say by a slight margin, I think Frank Nazar will be a better NHL player than Oliver Moore. But in my heart, they're both going to be really good. I feel very confident. Both of them are going to be very good. Maybe they'll equally be as good. They'll equally be top-line potential guys, and we'll be spoiled in riches.
I think, they're kind of different players, and I know they're both small and skilled, and that's kind of what has been the theme for a while here with the Blackhawks forward drafting. But like you said, Mario, what made Oliver Moore be taken as high as he was the speed. He was the fastest skater in last year's draft, kind of by a significant margin. There was no real question that he was the best, but we have seen what speed can do with no hands. Look no further than number 89, Athanasiou, or Victor Stahlberg. Now, I think Moore's going to be better than both of those guys.
You certainly hope so.
You hope so. But I think Nazar's game is more all around. So I'm not making the comparison that it's Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, but you could argue that they were equally good using the good measurement, right? But one was a little more electrifying, one was more about offense, and one was better all around. I think you could probably see that similarity in they're both. Let's say they're both 89s in NHL 24, but for different reasons.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I mean, better is eye of the beholder. I mean, that's an opinion. Like, it depends what you're looking for. As you guys both said, they're not the same player, so it's not like you can say, well, they both have the same skill set, and this guy's better than this. If they're both top 6 forwards for a long time in Chicago,
That's amazing.
who cares?
Yes.
Which one is better?
Right.
They're both going to be good players, hopefully. But I will agree that I think Frank Nazar has more, at least at this point, has more of a complete skill set.
Yeah.
Where Oliver Moore is the speed, he brings the energy, he's got that work ethic. Hopefully he can create offense off of that speed. But, being the fastest guy in your college team doesn't always mean you're the fastest guy in the NHL. So, we'll see how that goes. And as I said, as long as they're both top 6 players for a very long time, can't complain.
I think we're all happy with that, however it shakes out. Next.
Agreed.
Next question, gentlemen. This is from Chad Campbell. Do you think Q's availability, that's Coach Q, as in Quenneville, will hasten the firing of a coach whose team stumbles out of the gate next season?
Boy,
Yeesh.
that's a good question.
Right?
I am surprised that he was not hired this summer. And I think what we all when Stan Bowman got hired earlier this week, we can say that now the jar has been retired.
Right.
We were all sort of like, why not just bring him in as an advisor and then slide him into the GM role when your guy slips up? By the way, everybody, that's exactly what the Hawks did with Joel Quenneville and Dennis Savard. Yep. This guy's coming off a DUI. Maybe we don't want this bad publicity, so we're going to hire Joel Quenneville as an advisor. And as soon as we see signs of slipping from Savard, which they knew was coming, by the way.
Well, they only waited, 3 games?
I was going to say, it was like 4 games.
They were waiting for their
you
first.
lost. You're out. You're gone.
They were just waiting for the opportunity to present itself, which they knew was coming because it was, a 2-game losing streak or whatever it was. And then they slide Q in. I'm surprised that someone didn't do that with him already. I'm wondering, and this is wishful thinking, and I don't know what's wrong with me, and I know I'm going to say this and he'll be hired by the time the show's over. I'm wondering if that is a bridge too far for NHL teams. Quenneville's involvement in that cover-up is a lot. That's a lot to justify. Like the Stan Bowman thing, you can go through like the hierarchy of the team and all that stuff, and like how much real power did Stan Bowman have at that time? We don't know. Q is on the record as saying, I don't have time for this. I have playoff games to win. that is going to be really hard to explain to a fan base. I thought his best chance to come back was Columbus. They hired D. Nevison, the very crabby-looking D. Nevison.
I love D. Nevison.
So I don't know. Maybe this is a bridge too far for them. Maybe it's next year. Maybe it's middle of this year. I don't know. I just don't know what team it's going to be that's going to absorb that PR hit.
I think a mid-season hiring is the way to go to bring him back because, and as far as is it going to hasten a team from making a change? No, because as we've seen numerous times, teams don't waste any time. Like look at the Oilers last year. They did November and they said, okay, we're making the change. Yeah. And it can't be seen there because of our lower third, but that's all right. Anyway, they if you're a team that's got Stanley Cup aspirations and you get off to a bad October where you're 5-10 or whatever, and you bring him in and he turns you around, I don't think the outrage is going to be there. I mean, we knew there was something going on before the report came out, and the Panthers still hired him, and there were people mad that they got rid of him.
Yeah, right. There was still people's upset that
and that worked out well for them. Yeah. Not saying they wouldn't have won a cup, if Q was still there, but I think a mid-season move is probably you take a little less heat off of you because your fan base is already mad.
Right. You're in a position.
Something that needs
You're
to
mad.
change.
Something needs to change. Okay, we changed it. We did exactly what you want. Oh, not that guy. I don't think there's enough fans in the NHL that are that upset that would be mad if their team went out and got a 3-time Stanley Cup winning coach.
Well, I mean, look, the other reality of it is, even if you are livid, and we saw during this and during some other things, Hawks fans just say, "I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this anymore." The Patrick Kane allegations followed up with this is just, it's too much to take as a Hawks fan. I can't in good conscience remain a fan of this team and go. That's very few people. And even the people that would be super pissed that Quenneville's hired, they could rage about it on Twitter or Instagram or whatever for a week. He's still going to be the coach. The team is still going to play. And unless
they'll likely be watching if they're in the Stanley Cup final.
Everyone will learn to accept it no matter how unhappy you are with the hire. Unless you are ready to just walk away from your team, Joel Quenneville is going to make your team better. There's no doubt about that. And as soon as those wins start piling up and the news cycle goes over and Joel Quenneville has his nice little warm and fuzzy press conference, everyone will move on eventually. Everyone at kind of a different rate, but everyone will move on eventually and get over it.
I don't think
right or wrong.
I don't think he's going to be the first coach hired off of the first firing. I wouldn't be shocked if he is hired mid-season this year because we all know that there's usually 3 or 4 or 5 in-season firings every NHL season. I think from a PR standpoint, if you're bringing in Joel Quenneville, I feel like off-season is probably your best bet because you kind of weather that PR storm of hiring him first during the off-season, and then by the time you get to the season, you've already hashed it out. You go into a full season, and you no longer have, it shouldn't go away, obviously, but you no longer have that like hanging over him right in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
I also don't know if there's been enough in the public of Joel Quenneville kind of getting that, like, for lack of a better term, stamp of approval from the public. I mean, we saw with Stan Bowman, Sheldon Kennedy front and center, showing, going through the details of the work that Stan Bowman had done in his, work off the ice, during the suspension. Not necessarily seeing the same about Joel Quenneville, even though, in that report that Kennedy put out there about Bowman, like he mentioned, Al McIsaac and Joel Quenneville also were involved in similar programs. But I think the biggest thing that we've seen from Quenneville is, his interview with Andy Strickland.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I think at the time he did take a little bit of, took a little bit of like, okay, I should have done more, kind of a little bit of contrition, but not necessarily
He never said I'm sorry.
a ton.
There were still,
So my point being, I think there's still some questions in the public eye about where Quenneville is at with his being in the good graces. So I don't know if it'll happen this season because of that. I think
saying too, like, as you compare Bowman and Quenneville, and I know we're up against the break zone. We'll get there in a second. Quenneville made a point to get on a podcast and talk about it and give his case on why he should be back in and say, look at me, I'm a changed man. Look at me, I'm sort of admitting wrongs. Sam Bowman just put his head down and shut up and did the work and was let back in. And like for Sheldon, like I know a lot of people are cynical, and rightfully so, that, oh, well, this guy's just going to bat for a friend, and, maybe there's a little donation to the, something close to Sheldon Kennedy's heart that made him say this. Sheldon Kennedy, from what we know about him and from his track record, is not the kind of guy who's going to put his life's work, at risk just to pump up Sam Bowman. That letter was sincere. That work was put in. I'm not saying Q didn't put work in either, but the way he came off in that Cam and Strick thing, and he said a lot of the right things, but then there were a couple moments where you're like, I don't know, this feels very opportunist.
Very quickly, the biggest difference between the two, though, is Sam Bowman is in the background. You get his press conference, you see him maybe three times the rest of the season. Joe Quenneville is front and center, the leader of your team 82 times a year.
Yeah, that's a big difference. All right, we got one more to get to before the big one on the mailbag coming up next on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. But as it is Mardi Gras in July, our friends with Family Farms are here, and their culinary journey is woven with passion, fire and passion, dedication, and commitment to crafting the finest, wait for it, bacon, wrapped chicken.
It's so amazing.
A timeless delicacy, it looks good, that has tantalized taste buds since 1974. Maybe you can mute your phone next time. Join them on this flavorful adventure.
No one heard it.
Where every bite tells a story of tradition, quality, and the enduring spirit of Family Farms. The tradition continues. Now you can find Family Farms bacon wrapped chicken even easier. Look for them in the meat department of your local Woodman's, Mariano's, or Burkhart's. And if you're craving a taste of home without leaving yours, check out baconwrappedchicken.com or click on the link for our Amazon store, which also includes the legendary Rocky Rococo's Italian sausage. And to find out when our new amazing Cajun Nation flavors will become available with an authentic Louisiana bite. Experience the flavor that becomes a family favorite for generations. Visit your nearest Woodman's, Mariano's, Burkhart, or on Amazon, baconwrappedchicken.com.
It is amazing.
Yes, Alejandro De Jesus. We got some of the Cajun Nation seasoning right here.
Chug it.
Just going to drink it.
Is it open?
Well, I mean, it's seasoning. It's dust.
I'm going to snort it.
It'd be like the cinnamon challenge. Mario's just going to, go offset coughing.
Well, you better tell us about Circa before he does that.
Yeah.
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
All right. Well, hey, Circa is wonderful. If you want to take a gamble on your taste buds, go with Cajun Nation. You're going to win that gamble. If you want to gamble on sports, go with Circa, because Circa strives to have games at a -110 split on their menu, unlike other inferior sports books, which may use a same split, or on the same line, a split of -115 or -120. Circa keeps as little money as possible on large market bets, especially compared to those other books, which means more money in your pocket. And if you are putting more money in your pocket, wonderful. Circa Sports does not limit players based on their winnings. Every player has the same limits, unlike those other books who do limit winning players. Circa encourages bettors to download and explore all betting apps available, compare the lines, and see that you are going to continue to get the best from Circa. And when you're talking about the best, well, it's Circa's customer service, because there are real people behind the Circa Sports brand who resolve issues in a timely fashion, unlike other books who use chatbots. All aspects of the app are run by the same team that runs the main Circa Sports book at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. What you want to do is download the Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app. Sign up today, and also be on the lookout for Circa events, watch parties, and tailgates. And Circa is always with us for all of our Cubs Friday 120 Club games, so see them out there in the bleachers. And if you or someone you know may have a problem with gambling, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Or you can text GAMB, G-A-M-B, to 833-234 or visit areyoureallywinning.com. All right, I'm going to test this out.
Oh, God. This can only go perfectly.
Push.
Can't wait.
Push.
Oh, Lord.
Push.
All right, while Mario does that,
Mario gives birth over here for those listening to audio only.
There it is.
okay. Shall we go back to the mailbag,
Yes.
gentlemen?
Jesus, yes.
Oh, my gosh. All right, fine. So this one...
Why are all our shows in this studio just kind of more off the rails than Studio A?
This is the off-the-rails radish garden.
I guess so.
It's not the Radish
Okay,
Garden anymore.
this comes from at
Dug up.
Saucy Rosso 5. Love the photo of George Costanza in a cowboy hat.
All right.
What pro athlete that never played hockey could be the best theoretical hockey player? I love this question, especially with the Olympics going on.
That never played hockey. Does J.J. Watt count? Because
Yes.
I guess he did play hockey. Theoretically, he did not play in NHL hockey, but he was a hockey player growing up, so I'm not going to count him.
That's good stuff.
How about Anton Apollo Ono?
Skate.
Talking about
He's got
straight
the
ahead
skating.
speed. We don't
Yeah.
know how the hands are, but I'm going to take Anton Apollo Ono.
Andreas Athanasiou, part 2.
Hey,
Yeah.
when he retires, he could be on the Olympic speed skating
I'm going to
team.
take prime, not now, but like,
John Prine?
no, not
Oh,
no.
Nice.
that'd be
But
interesting.
I'm going to take like circa 2001,
Circa.
2002, Chris Jericho. Because his dad was an NHL.
yeah.
Oh,
His
sure,
dad,
sure.
Ted
Yeah.
Irvine, played a long time.
And he's Canadian.
That's
He's
true.
Canadian.
Y2J era?
Yes.
you idiot.
Yes. I just want to call him like here like score a goal on a goalie and be like, you stupid idiot. and then
You just made the list.
and then like do the whole foot on the chest and this, that would be that. He's got it in his blood.
I'm
He's
sure.
definitely athletic.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been a beast on the ice.
He would have been good. See him do a moonsault on somebody. It'd be
Yeah.
awesome. Jay, you took my answer right away. It's J.J. Watt. If you scour his socials over the years, there's many videos of him playing hockey. I think he still does a yearly charity hockey event in Madison with a bunch of former Badger players and Wisconsinites and all that. Still waiting on my invite for that, but not bitter about it at all. But yeah, I mean, imagine J.J. Watt decided I'm going to follow hockey instead of football, and you have a 6'5", 280-pound dude just barreling at you.
He would have had
That'd
a
be
longer
scary.
career. He'd probably still be playing.
Probably.
He'd be take Joe Thornton off the list of that ESPN list.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I fear, though, that he would have been pigeonholed as oh, you're big and broody, just go hit people and fight, which probably would have shortened his career, but
Probably a little bit.
I think he did okay being an
For
NFL
him, not
player.
too long.
Yeah.
Bijan says Dave Winfield or Bo Jackson. I'm
Bo
not
Jackson,
betting against Bo Jackson
yeah.
on anything.
That would have been fun to
Jackson
see.
could probably still play in the NHL today.
Really.
Maybe.
Better than Jared Tenorti.
Mahaffey
take
Max says Deion Sanders.
Maybe.
On a breakaway, it's kind of dancing his way to
His gold chains would slow him down. It's too much wind resistance.
Oh, that's interesting. I think you got to have a skating background.
Windy City's got a point that Anthony Rizzo was able to nail a couple of shoot the pucks during intermissions.
Yeah?
That's true. It's true. Mr. T hit one.
Sniper.
He did, Mr.
Yeah.
T.
Oh, Mr. T, let's
Mr.
go.
T, former pro boxer.
I like that question. That's fun.
All right, gentlemen. Well, now
Is it
time
the
has come?
That's the last one.
it is the time.
You guys want to try this? This is good.
I'll try some.
I'm going to try it on food, yeah.
Hopefully there is some. I
More
think
for
there
me
will be.
then.
I'll sniff it.
All right. This was our last question for Mailbag Monday, turn Tuesday, turn
good.
Wednesday. This comes from Aiden. So, you said a few months ago this is a late July or August question. So
Calling
here
us out.
goes.
Stop holding us accountable, Aiden.
Yeah, Aiden.
Jeez.
All right, Aiden. Who
your
makes up
last
this
question
roster
ever.
3 years from now? Fun prediction is all I'm asking.
All right.
Who makes up this
So we went with technically 2 years from now.
Going into
The 26,
26,
27,
26,
27.
27.
All right.
Yeah.
So that would be the third season from currently right now. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Who wants to go first with their roster?
Yeah, I have graphics for all three of you gentlemen, so I could flash them up when whoever
Rock,
wants
paper,
to go
scissors?
first.
I can go first. It's fine. All right, so here's what I got. You've got a couple guys still under contract, Tyler Bertuzzi, Teuvo Teravainen. So they're going to be here. So I got my top line is Connor Bedard with Tyler Bertuzzi and unrestricted free agent signing Kirill Kaprizov.
I like this one.
No, we just talked about him yesterday.
A guy who is sick and tired of half-assing it in Minnesota, not having any help, tired of being a one-man show, wants to come here and wants to join a team, a lot like Marian Hossa did, to come and win a Stanley Cup for a team that's poised to do it. Kirill Kaprizov is my big free agent signing for the Hawks.
Tired of being mid.
My second line is centered by Shane Pinto, who the Hawks have traded Sam Rinzel and a first-round pick to acquire.
My goodness.
Yes.
Love the detail. Love this.
So Shane Pinto centering Teuvo Teravainen and Frank Nazar. My third line is Sasha Boisvert.
Boisvert
Who
guy.
could forget?
Centering Oliver Moore and Philip Kurashev. Yes, Philip Kurashev is still on the team. Paul Ledwinski centering Samuel Savoie. Pause for salute. And Gavin Hayes. And my D pairings are Alex Vlasic and Artyom Levshunov, Kevin Korchinski and Seth Jones, Ethan Del Mastro, and free agent signing for your third pair right-handed shot defenseman, Henry Jokiharju.
Hey, if it works for Teuvo, might work
You gotta
for
you
Jokiharju.
gotta correct for past mistakes.
Yes.
Your goaltending tandem, it's kind of a 1A, 1B situation. Drew Camesso and Laurent Brossoit is brought back because he performs so well in his first contract with the Hawks. My extras are Marek Vanacker and Nolan Allen on defense. So there you have it. There's my 2026-27 Blackhawks. I like that team. I think it's somewhat realistic.
team.
It's somewhat doable.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't think that. And Giggity says no Guyan yet. I don't think Guyan's quite ready just then yet.
He's
4
still going to
years
be.
away.
Yeah,
He's
so
still
I
going to
have
be in college.
Brossoit's on another
likely.
2-year deal to build the bridge to Guyan. Get working on that graphic for us,
yes,
Lawrence.
got it,
to
got it.
Guyan. Right next to the Bridge. to
Yeah,
Comezo.
Guyan probably won't even be pro yet at that point.
Yeah, I
if
wouldn't-
so,
I
it's his
wouldn't
first
imagine
season
so.
in Rockford.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I
Yep.
wouldn't imagine so.
So I like my
that.
Rinzel in a first for Shane Pinto
So you
because
think
Ottawa.
so you think Pinto is going to be basically 2 first-round picks worth of guys?
Yes, and I think you pencil him in as your second line center for the next decade, and you're very, very happy with that.
It'd be nice. I wonder what Ottawa thinks.
I
Because
don't care what they think.
Ottawa screws everything up,
Sure.
and it's already
That's
been
true.
a little bit rocky with Shane Pinto contract-wise with them.
Well, I think his suspension probably played a bit of a factor in that.
Sure,
but yeah, I
yeah.
see what you're saying. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying.
So
All right.
I don't think it's going to be a Marner, Rantanen, Draisaitl level, but I think a guy like Kaprizov in that second tier to come and be the right-hand man to Connor Bedard, or if they want to break the two of them up, you've got 2 absolute offensive studs, line 1, line 2, very much like Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane back in the day. I love that. I really like that team, and the guys we don't know about, but it's a very nice core of players.
Nate brings up that Tuomo Ruutu is an assistant coach on your team, right?
Well, that's a given. That's a given.
He replaces
head coach.
Derek
No, no,
King.
Maybe head coach.
He's assistant general manager, right? He's
Whatever. There's always a home in my heart
When,
for Teuvo.
when Kyle-
for Tuomo.
When
of
Kyle
course.
Davidson retires as king of the hockey world, Tuomo Ruutu just slides right in.
Yeah.
Nice, perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, I do like that. I do like ours are not that different.
I do gotta point out though.
Kaprizov and Bedard on the same line would be amazing.
That'd be awesome.
I'm not sure Bertuzzi would still be a first liner at that point, but
You need a little bit of grit
Yeah,
to complement the skill.
yeah. I don't think that's a bad
You may have
look.
noticed, by the way, that Lukas Reichel no longer part of things.
Well, there's a
theme.
There's a theme going on here. Yeah.
I don't think he. Spoiler alert! I don't think Lawrence had to type Reichel once today.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Before we get to Greg's here, why don't we head to the break zone one more time? So we don't have to interrupt Greg's
Break zone.
Greg's list and tell you about our friends.
Oh, Greg's List. I always
at
love Greg's List.
Sunnyside.
It's a different type of site.
I got a text from someone last night about Sunnyside.
Really?
Your partner.
Yes.
Your partner in crime, Stacey's like, I need to go to Sunnyside. What am I getting to sleep? And I said,
she's been having trouble sleeping, and I said, well, we've got this awesome promo code at Sunnyside, and Jay is my expert in that department.
yes, get yourself the Counting Sheep by Good News, and I think that's exactly what Stacey's going to do. So what is Sunnyside? What are we talking about? Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where rookies, veterans, everything in between can feel comfortable, can feel educated about their cannabis purchases. It can be a little bit intimidating to go to those places for the first time, have no fear. Sunnyside is going to make you feel very, very comfortable. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city, Wrigleyville and River North, to the suburbs, Champaign, been to that one, South Beloit, and more. And if you're just starting out, Sunnyside has great guidance in the brands they know you'll love, like Good News and Mindy's. Coincidentally, my two favorite brands. And if you're a pro, there's over 100 strains on the menu with new ones added every week. So you know you'll love Cresco, FloraCal, and their incredible quality and consistent products. Easy to order online, and listen to this. Visit sunnyside.shop for Bright Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Use promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright Buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois MedCard holders. Again, 50% off your first 3 online purchases with that code HICHGO at sunnyside.shop.
And we're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't a search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed
You do. All right,
Greg.
Greg,
Who's on
the
your
floor
team?
is yours.
This was fun. I enjoyed doing this. All right. On my 2026-27 opening night roster, I have Frank Nazar on the left wing with Connor Bedard and free agent acquisition Brock Besser on the right wing.
All right.
Okay.
I would love a Mikko Rantanen, a Leon Draisaitl. I just don't think those guys are leaving their current. I don't think they're leaving their current teams. I don't think they're ever going to hit the market. I think it's slightly greater chance that Mikko Rantanen hits the open market, but still less. It's less than 50-50. Colorado wants to make it work, and they'll get to do it if they want to.
Well,
so
Draisaitl will be a trade for Brandon Saad, so it'll
right,
not a free agent.
yeah. So Nazar, Bedard. I think Brock Besser is exactly what this team would need, and it'd be a great line mate on with Bedard. Second line, Oliver Moore, Sasha Boisvert, and our guy Roman Kantsarov coming over from Russia to make his NHL debut. He's got creative offensive talent. I think that's a really solid second line. You've got the bruiser down the middle with some speed and creativeness on the wings. Third line, Tyler Bertuzzi, Philip Kurashev, I think will re-up, and Teuvo Teravainen. Pretty crazy that those 3 guys are going to be
It's a whole of a third line.
To the third line, but that is a really good third line.
Nice.
Fourth line center, I think Jason Dickinson is going to re-up after these 2 years.
All right.
I think he's going to be your veteran. He's going to be your Nick Foligno after Nick Foligno is gone. Marek Vanacker will probably make the league by then and be out on that wing. And then I think Ryan Lomberg will be a free agent in 2025. I think that's a good,
I like that one too.
good quality veteran. Get that guy. He could teach your guy, Sammy Savoie, a thing or two about being a little pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Could show him something or two in the gym, too.
Maybe, yeah, for sure. So I think he'd be a good fit here. And then defensive pairings, I've got Vlasic, Levshunov, Korchinski Jones, Del Mastro, Renzel. My 2 extra skaters, Gavin Hayes as a forward, Nolan Allen as a defenseman. I really wanted to find a place for Colton Dach in this lineup, but I like Colton Dach as a player. I think Colton Dach has the swagger and attitude to be a fan favorite in this city, but until he can prove to me that he can actually stay on the ice and stay healthy, I'm not going to invest a future spot in him. My goalie is Drew Commesso, and I too think Laurent Brossoit is going to play good enough over these next 2 seasons where they're going to want to bring him back and be kind of like the veteran mentor to Drew Commesso, who at that point would be making, his probably his NHL first season.
Yeah, I'm with you on Cancer. I just have no idea like what his timeline is or what it's so hard with these Russian players, despite all the YouTube experts who were telling us around the draft that Kyle Davidson should be fired. If he doesn't draft
just
a
ask
Russian.
one of our thousands of MHL experts.
But I just
some in our
I don't know. I don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah, I mean, so his deal is still what, 2 years? This year and next?
Yeah. So
okay. So that would be his second pro year, or second North American year.
No, that'd be his first North American year, right? No, this year, next year.
Oh yeah.
That'd be his first year over. So
you're saying he's going to jump over and be top 6 right away?
I think so. Why not?
Oh no,
He'll be 22.
What, 22, 23.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I mean, he really impressed me last year of how he, from starting in the season and then, he got hurt and he came back and then he was playing huge minutes in the playoffs for the championship team as a 20-year-old. That's next to unheard of.
13 points.
He will be
games
20 in September.
Right. So 20. So he'll be 20.
It'll be 22 at the start
22.
of the 26-27 season.
Yeah, and like a lot of people are saying, "What about this guy? What about this guy?" Well, this is a tough thing. Like, we have a lot of prospects. Not all of them are going to hit.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to get used as trade bait. Some of them are not going to pan out, and you only have 18 spots a night to fill. So some of these guys are going to have to earn it.
Yeah, and as many prospects as we're listing here, I mean, these are young teams that we're doing for this exercise because they're really only the most known commodities that this team will have outside of Alex Vlasic, Seth Jones, Bertuzzi, and Teravainen, because those are the only guys that would be still under contract currently for the 26-27 season. So outside of us just completely spitballing and thinking, they're going to trade for this guy, that making up a roster based off of trades and free agency, like we're going off of like the guys that are here, but also too, I think that is part of Kyle Davidson's plan is that in the next year or two, a lot of these prospects, I think they're hoping and they're investing all these picks in them. They're hoping that the team looks like this because the guys are developing the right way and that you have 21 and 22-year-old guys ready to step into the NHL because that's one, more cost effective, and two, the game continues to get faster and younger. So I think if development goes the right way, we might see some rosters that look this prospect laden.
I want to address, I don't know when it was said, but somebody in the chat said this is not a championship team. Looking at one of the rosters, it doesn't matter which one it is, but I want to remind people we've not seen Connor Bedard hasn't scratched the surface. Kevin Korchinski hasn't scratched the surface. Alex Vlasic hasn't scratched the surface. Frank Nazar, all these guys who project as really good players, you can look at it now and say it's not a championship team, sure. But if your third line is Tyler Bertuzzi, Philip Kurashev, and Teuvo Teravainen, that's a championship team. If the team pans out as Greg has predicted, that's a very deep team. Mm-hmm. And we already have a pretty good feeling about what Vlasic is going to be. Yesterday we were sort of talking about the Faber versus Vlasic thing. And I'm thinking about that a lot, right? So tell me if I'm nuts about this. I probably am.
You're nuts.
If Brock Faber is Brent Seabrook, could Alex Vlasic be Nicholas Hjalmarsson? Seabrook a little more offense.
Wait, I thought Levshunov was Seabrook.
Get your chicken. Right? So you're talking about so the thing about Faber is he's a good defender. He brings offense. He's all around, kind of does everything. Whereas Vlasic is a little more defensively oriented. Yeah. Could you make that comparison that Faber is Seabrook and Vlasic is Hjalmarsson? If Vlasic is Hjalmarsson,
as far as their games are molded, I would say that those are pretty decent comparables. And look, if Nick Hjalmarsson played first line minutes on most other teams, he'd probably have a higher offensive output than he did in his career. And I think Vlasic, if he's consistently a 30-point guy, but is like solid shutdown top pair defensively. I mean, that's pretty much what Nicholas Hjalmarsson would have been had he not been a second pair guy because of how good the Blackhawks were at that time.
And then you've got him and Levshunov together for the next decade.
Yeah, it'd be wonderful.
I mean, I think it's just it's hard. It's easy to look at that now and say it's not a championship team, but
and we're not saying we're building a championship team. We're saying we're building out what the team probably is potentially going to look like come that season. And that season is, we're all I'd say we're all in agreement. Not just us, but I think a lot of fans too are in agreement that that's the time that we should be talking about. Not necessarily maybe playoffs, but like that should be a playoff team. And I would say at least the way we're constructing some of these rosters, there is pretty decent playoff potential, factoring in that these prospects are on the right development path.
Because as Jay said, it's not Ethan Del Mastro today; it's Ethan Del Mastro
as he continues
2 seasons from now
to grow and develop all these guys.
It's Oliver Moore, not Oliver Moore today. It's Oliver Moore in his second pro season, and 2 more pro seasons of Connor Bedard, who should be a perennial Hart Trophy candidate at that point.
Not 19-year-old Kevin Korchinski having to play with Jacob Megna, 23 or whatever.
Who gets to play with Seth Jones every night, and that would be a big improvement. So, this is a realistic trajectory. Like, nobody here said you're winning a Stanley Cup in 4 years on this rebuild. Right. You should be a playoff team at 26, 27. Realistically, Stanley Cup is probably another 2 years away from this. Yeah. If everything goes right.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe that 26, 27 team is pretty young, but the young guys are on the ascent, and you have a crazy run like the 09 team had when they were in the Western Conference Final against Detroit, and we've heard over the years some of those players from that team talk about it, and they were just like, we didn't know how else to play. We didn't know what else to expect out of ourselves, so we just kind of went out there and played our asses off and were ahead of schedule with getting that far into the postseason. And then the next year they win the cup. So maybe this team 2 years, 3 years down the road is a lot of young guys that all kind of came up and developed together through the Rockford system, which is how the Blackhawks are using that system now. And they experience success through the AHL development path, and they bring that up to the NHL. And then we got a bunch of, mid to lower 23-year-old players all just having fun and playing productive hockey. Like I would love that. That'd be amazing. That'd be such a fun team to cover.
And I think we're all and I literally just did it, so pointing the thumb, we're all very just prone to compare to the dynasty.
Yeah.
You have to remember, the dynasty is a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. That doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen, especially in the Cup era, Cap era, rather. Look at Colorado, who everyone was saying, they're going to win the next 4 or 5 cups in a row. Not so much. It doesn't work the same way. So what you're looking to do is, and I think this is what Kyle Davidson's made clear since day one, is a plan for sustained success. Is you're constantly drafting, you're acquiring assets, draft assets to either develop and or trade, right? And all those things. And the hope is that as you get those guys like the older end of your team, when Connor Bedard hits his 30s, right, which is a long way away, but they got to think about it a little bit. Who's coming up behind that? Who's going to be ready to take that mantle? And we compare to the Dallas Stars a lot, and I think it's become a blueprint for how you're supposed to build in this Cap era, because you still got Ben and Sagan, but now you've got Robertson and Hintz and all these young guys coming up, making their impact. So I don't know. I think it's just, we have to be careful to be like, well, okay, so they bring in a big free agent and then they win the cup that year. It's not going to be like a carbon copy of how the 2010 Hawks were.
No, because if it was, every team would be doing it.
Right.
Yes,
exactly.
It was that easy.
Yeah.
But we're talking about, this is probably the first year where you can look at them and say, this is a team, 2026, 27 I'm talking about, where this team should make the playoffs and make a little bit of noise. Maybe win a round or two. Maybe not a cup, but make some significant noise and be a contender.
Could at least be fun. Playing a fun, effective brand of hockey.
All right, Mario.
That's all you can ask for.
It's your turn, my friend.
All right. Well, Greg, you were worried about finding a spot for Colton Dock. I did. He's on
All
my
right.
third line, but I'm going to start with. I know you see Connor and
Bedard.
Bedard.
Is he playing wing and center? On
I
this
didn't
line?
clone. I
He's
didn't
that
clone
good?
him. I didn't clone him. That is Kyle Connor on the left wing
I
there.
almost took him as my free agent guy
Yeah.
over Besser.
He's my my big splash free agent signing. He'd be a free agent going into that summer of 2026. He's a guy with high 30s and 40 goal potential. I think you pair him with a guy like Connor Bedard, who I think we're all assuming has that 40 goal potential in his future. So you got two guys that can play off of each other really well, be really good goal scoring threats, and then on the right side there you have a little bit more of a two-way guy, a Tirabassi to play a little defense there. Then second line you got Tyler Bertuzzi with Frank Nazar playing center and Oliver Moore on the right side. So you got the two guys that we're worried about who's going to be better than the other. Well, they'll play on the same line. Then the third line, I have Colton Dock on the left wing. I got Philip Kershev coming back on the team. He's going to be playing on the third line right wing. And in the middle there, I have the 2025 first round pick that the Blackhawks will make in this next summer's draft, because they're going to be very, very, very likely picking in the low teens or in the top 10 of the lottery this year, for as improved as they're going to be and as much more fun that they should be this year to watch. We're still talking about a team that is going to be at the mercy of the lottery balls come April and May. So this is going to be the pick that I believe that they are going to make with their own first-round pick. I know they also have Toronto's as well. This player is who I'm looking at that I'm already kind of getting a little bit excited for. I know it's like, oh, Porter Martone and James Higgins. It's like, yes, be excited about those guys. Those guys are going to be at the top of the draft, but also I don't want the Blackhawks to be picking in the top three. I would like to shoot higher that they're not going to be in the top three of the lottery. Still in the lottery, very likely, but not in the top three. It sounds spoiled to be like, I don't think they need another top three pick. Like, of course they would benefit from it, but I don't want them to be there. I want them to be picking outside of the top five, because I think that would just be more fun to watch this season. But it's the lottery, who knows? The guy that I'm looking at is from the Brandon Wheat Kings, Roger McQueen. So
Steve's grandson.
yeah.
If Kyle Davidson doesn't take Roger McQueen, he should be fired immediately.
Absolutely.
Heard it here first.
Let's start that. He's a guy that is, I mean, right now we're almost a full year away from the draft, but he's in the top 10 range of rankings. 51 points in 53 WHL games last year. You look at Bedard and Nazar right there on my team as the centers, both under 6 foot. So you worry about size down the middle. Roger McQueen, 6'5", pushing 200 as a 17-year-old. So there's some size. There's some size there. He's got a great shot, a good two-way game. You have, size down the middle. If you pick him in the first round of the 25 draft, probably plays, the 25-26 season in the WHL, makes the jump next year. You put him in a third line role with Doc and Kershev, who I think at the NHL level, if they, Kershev, we know what he is at the NHL level. Doc, I think he's on that path. I agree. The health is the concern, but if he stays healthy, stays on the ice, and becomes productive, I think he's a great third line option, because he does have that scoring pop, and he does have that tenacity on a third line that you want to see, a guy that's willing to play physical, willing to play in front of a net. I think Colton's the kind of guy that can do that. And then you have, a big guy down the middle who can kind of play make and get acclimated into the NHL without having to be the do-it-all guy like Bedard was his first year. That gets me excited. Fourth line, I agree. Jason Dickinson is coming back. I think he's a player that the Blackhawks really like. I think he's really proven himself as a really reliable option. Samuel Savoie is on the right side there. Landon Slager. You guys forgot about Landon Slager.
Don't forget.
I have him on the fourth line there on the left side of Dickinson and Savoie. I think you have Dickinson, who's a really good two-way guy, reliable at the face-off dot, veteran presence. Savoie, if he fills out to be that reincarnation of Andrew Shaw, wonderful. That's a great fourth line player. And Slager, I mean, you talk about, relentlessness, speed, high motor, like perfect fourth line guy.
Yep.
And by this time I would think he's playing probably his second or third NHL season, or going into his third NHL season. I think he's got a chance to push for some roster spots even this year. That on a team that would project to be this young, that's kind of a veteran presence. And he's been a leader in college. He's a great kid, great personality. I think without having a veteran-laden team, Landon Slagert's kind of got that presence and that personality. Defensively, we're all in agreement. Vlasic, Levshunov, Korchinski, Jones, that's your top four. I have Del Mastro and Sam Renzel filling out the third pair. I also have Drew Comezzo, but I went with Peter Mrazek. I think Laurent Brossoit probably plays really well, but I think so does Peter Mrazek. I'd like to believe that what we saw out of him last year is the guy he is. Obviously, again, health is still a concern, even though he was very healthy last year, as healthiest he's been probably in a full season in his career. And I think the Blackhawks, again, he got a 2-year extension this year. I think they like having him around. We'll see what happens with Brossoit, but if he plays well, I don't hate the idea of him coming back too. I just believe that Drew Comezzo is going to come in and push to be a potential starter there. And Mrazek at this point could probably be like, all right, I'll do the 1A, 1B again, and maybe he gets the extension of being like, hey, Peter, we really like your presence here, your leadership ability, your experience. Let's continue to help us with Drew, getting him ready to be the next starter there. So I think that's who I would go with. In net, my extras, I had Gavin Hayes as an extra forward. Defensively, I went with free agent veteran defenseman rather than having a young guy sitting. Two guys that I think would fit that mold and would actually be UFAs next summer, not the summer 2026. Brian Dumoulin with the Kraken, he's on an expiring deal, and John Merrill with the Minnesota Wild, he's also on the end of his contract. Those are two guys that I think would welcome the opportunity to be in a young locker room, be able to push young defensemen for a roster spot, and ultimately up the competition level, but also be able to say, you know what, if I'm beat out for a position, that's fine. I'm in my mid-30s. I'll be a seventh defenseman, a veteran guy. So yeah, I think those are potentially two options to fill that. But I don't necessarily think the Blackhawks are going to be sitting young defensemen as seventh guys.
Yeah, I like what you said about Slaggert, and I think it was just kind of like Change the Logo said, Slaggert feels like a Highmore, Gutman, call-up type guy, and that's kind of why I didn't have him on there. But I do think sometimes we undervalue the idea of a locker room presence, of a personality, of those sort of things. Like, I think a lot of us looked at Reese Johnson and were like, that's a dude. But everyone in the organization loved the guy, because of the way he worked and his attitude and the way he carried himself in the locker room. And I think that when you look at sports teams, I think as fans we have a tendency to say the best players are the leaders and they're the most important. And the less skilled you are, the less important you are to the locker room. It's not necessarily the case. Like, I know this may be a bad example because he's a potential Hall of Famer, but when you look at the Lovie Smith Bears, it wasn't Brian Urlacher. It wasn't Jay Cutler leading that room. It was Olin Kreutz. And while he's an offensive lineman, he's a guy who is kind of below the radar, right? But that was the dude who ran things. Yeah. He was the guy in charge. Well, fear was part of it, but it was also out of respect, right? And I think that, you look at Nick Foligno. Yeah. Nick Foligno is not a guy who is, at this point in his career, considered a star player. He had a couple of years there where you'd call him a star. But his value is not in the numbers he puts up. They're a nice bonus, but his value is him being there for the younger players. And the fact that you point out that Slaggert at that point will be, what, 26?
24.
24. 24. Like, he's going to be on the higher end of the age of that team.
Right. Yeah.
And if you are bringing in, other high-level players that maybe aren't the biggest leaders, you need somebody in that role to be the guy in the room to speak up. Because, look, I know everybody wants to give Connor Bedard a C. I think Connor Bedard is going to get the C. But from what we've seen from Bedard so far is he's not a vocal leader. Mm-hmm. He's the kind of guy that's going to lead by example. He's going to be the best player on the ice. He's going to be the face of the franchise, all of which check that box for a captain, right?
Yeah.
But in terms of the guy who's going to get the team up and be able to relate to everybody, that's important. And I think sometimes when you're so more skilled than your teammates, sometimes it can be a little bit hard to relate to those. It's like Wayne Gretzky, the coach. Like,
Right,
well,
yeah.
just go score 90 goals. Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah,
why
right.
aren't you doing it the way I was? You know what I mean? So,
Well, and I think McDavid, when he first stepped into the Oilers and whatnot, I don't think he was as, much more vocal than Bedard has been in his first year. But I think the writing was just on the wall. Like, he was a captain in junior. He has that, that presence of lead by example, and he's going to be the best player, and he's going to be the face of the franchise. Like, it all kind of aligned that way. And then he's grown into a more vocal guy, a more upfront guy, especially in the last couple of years, where he's, used his voice and his platform within the locker room to be like that vocal leader of the Oilers. Which I mean, if I'm misremembering the beginning of his career, forgive me, but I don't think he was exactly that right away.
no, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, a lot of people saying, "Where's this guy? Where's that guy?"
We traded them all.
Let's this is what proper development does. You don't draft a guy and put him in your top line immediately.
Yeah, it takes time.
Where
Like Martin Miziak is going to take more than 2 years to get to the NHL.
Nick Lardis is a guy I really like, but he's playing another year in the OHL. And then he's going to need at least a full season in Rockford, probably 2. There is nothing wrong with playing 2 to 3 seasons in Rockford before becoming an NHL regular. There's nothing wrong with that. Just shows how deep the prospect core is. Same with Guyan. Guyan is starting college this year.
Yeah,
Guyan is 4 to 5 years away. We got to relax
at least
with him.
He hasn't even scheduled his college classes yet.
Yeah, he's
It's
going to
gonna
college
take
for
time.
1 year.
Yeah.
He's probably playing at least 3, maybe 4 years in college. That's what a lot of goalies do. And then he comes here. So
Mezzo played 3.
yeah, so say he plays 3 years in college, and 26, 27, he's still in college.
Yeah.
And then at least 1 more year in
Rockford.
So he is light years away from being considered as an NHL starter. Not saying he won't or will be, but it's way too early in the conversation for thinking about him.
I don't think Guyan would be on that.
I'd be a little
26,
concerned. I
27.
like your team, Mario. I like the Kyle Connor edition. As I said, I was flipping a coin between him and Bosser. I'd be a little concerned, though, if we're entering 26, 27, and neither Boyver or Vanaker is in the AHL yet. If not one of those guys is at least there, I'd be a little okay.
Well, both guys are. So Boisvert is going to college. So he's playing in college this upcoming season. Vanaker's going back to the OHL. What's to say Boisvert doesn't play 2 years of college and then 26, 27, he's in Rockford? I mean, that
Right.
could be potential.
I
Same
would
thing
like
with
to see
Vanaker.
one of them here by then.
Sure.
I'm not saying they'd be busts if neither of them are here, but I'd be like, if we've got those 2 guys drafted in 2024, but the 2025 guy has already jumped them and is here, I'd
He's
be
a top
little
10 pick.
Well,
I don't know. I just
I
agree.
Boisvert.
I agree.
He should have been.
Reichel was drafted in 18th or 17th in 2020 and played his first full season last year. Not even full because he had to go back to Rockford last year. So
Right.
Boisvert, same thing, drafted 18th this year, so that would be 2027. You could expect to be his first full season. So
Potentially.
if we're on the same timeline.
Yeah, and I know someone also mentioned Ryan Green. Yeah, I mean, look,
There's only 12 forward spots,
There's
guys.
a lot of there's a lot of options. There's a lot of guys already that have played either with the Blackhawks or a full season with Rockford. I know Ryan Green's going to be captain this year in college. He's probably going to be a guy that signs at the end of Boston's season this year and gets a game or 2 or 3 with the Blackhawks at the end of the year, and then probably goes to the AHL and kind of figures it out. So, I mean, here's the thing. The overarching theme of today's show is the future of this team is in as best a shape as it has been since we launched CHGO.
No doubt.
Because we're talking about guys that legitimately are top prospects that we're like, I don't know, maybe they won't be ready yet. Or maybe they just won't have a spot because the rest of the guys are that good.
Because you still have to have veterans and NHL
of course.
experience at that point. You just can't have, here is the 2022, 23, 24 draft class. That's your team. It doesn't work that way.
You're never going to have a fully drafted team. No way.
You've got to have guys who've done it before, veteran leaders, and that's where some of those roster spots are going.
All right, we got a lot of people watching. Got to get some more likes. Let's do a like spike. 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
hit that like button, elbow smash it, give it the Walls of Jericho or the Lion Tamer if you're a WCW fan. Whatever you're into, do it. Armbar. That's still my favorite bit in wrestling history. So do that. And Luke, who had the comment about these not being championship teams, wanted to clarify. Luke says, I kind of meant that teams like Montreal, Anaheim, and San Jose are looking to have better, younger cores that the Hawks will have to go up against. I don't know if they're better. They're comparable.
I'd say they're probably a step ahead. I
in
would
timeline.
In timeline,
yes.
Yeah. Like I'd say Montreal has
it's not younger.
Yeah, Montreal has more of their younger players that are now on their NHL team. I think Columbus and Anaheim too have more of their younger players that are on their NHL team. Blackhawks are just a step behind that.
Right.
Yeah. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're off pace. It's just,
none of them have Connor Bedard.
Yeah. Nope. That's a big difference.
So
Or John Mustard.
Or Jan Mustard. That's correct.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for being with us. All right. Let's have a production meeting right now before we wrap up the show.
Why not?
We were having an off-air Top 10 Thursday in the office yesterday. And I don't know if we'll get canceled for this, so we need to vote on it. Can we do...
Wait, should we say it on air?
Each present our top 3 Olympic crushes. No? Chickens. You guys are
No, because I have more than 3.
Bacon wrapped chicken.
There you go. All right. I was just trying to have some fun. Whatever.
Shout out to Alicia Sacramone.
We can get a good topic out there.
All right. Well, I tried, everybody.
Misty May.
I'll just tweet them out.
That could be a Die Hard only Discord
See, there you
post.
go. Oh, maybe we can get like Emma or Sarah to sit in, so we get some representation.
There you go.
I don't know. Just an idea. Just a fun thought. Maybe you know what that would be? A fun tavern style. See? Look at me thinking this stuff.
All right. Too bad I'm not on that show this week or next week. Or
I'm sure you could elbow your way in.
I'm good.
Or Walls of Jericho your way.
It's too hot in here.
Yeah, we're leaving. It's hot as balls in here. Thank God I got the Mando spread on there. That's a free one. Mark that one down. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow at 2:30 right here on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.